Yes, people, welcome back into the channel. Hope you are too blessed to be stressed. Thank you again for joining myself today, live a little earlier than I have been usually. And that's for a multitude of reasons. But look, I'm just too damn excited to talk about Tottenham. I'm too damn excited to see Xavi Simons play for my beautiful club. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm finding it kind of strange. The vibe around the window seems like people are more stuck on what we didn't get rather than enjoying what we did get. And for me, off of the top, I just want to say I think this is a fantastic window. To have four signings that come in and impact the starting 11 immediately, I think that's I ain't seen that in a while. Let alone some of these players that we did bring in. I'm gonna say this as well. 2 out of 2 of the signings were dream signings for me, and then also I'm gonna say that at least for me anyway, I really think that Paulinho, that bit of business is going to go under the radar. One, because it's a loan deal, and for some reason with loan deals, people like to say it's a half deal. It's not like a full deal. I don't really buy that. I think it's kind of a no pressure, no real risk type of signing because if he does get back to that Fulham form, well, hey, then you've got a good player there for just about what, 30 million euros? If we do, it's a 20 something million euros, something absorbently cheap, which if you would have told me 48 months ago, well, not 48, what, 24 months ago, 2 years ago, that João Paulinho would go for a fee similar to that, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But here we are. And then, of course, you get Kolo Muani on deadline day. Haven't actually discussed that too much because I haven't been live, but I do apologize about that. So make sure you are liking and subscribing on the channel. Like the video or don't, whatever is your choice. And I'm also going to say this about the transfer window. Like, we have brought in players that not only strengthen the 11, but also provide, I'm going to say, some ample competition for players at other positions. I mean, when you simply look at how Richarlison's been playing, I think that shows that he wants to get his job back from Dominic. We announced Kolo Muani, then all of a sudden Dominic's posting selfies in the gym. So I think that these kinds of signings are going to be those ones that help the team to actually improve. And it does obviously remain to be seen. I think that our schedule coming back, the first 4 games from international break, Premier League specifically, not talking about the Champions League, because we do come back, we play West Ham and then Villarreal in the Champions League, which they are a criminal club and now they employ a bunch of criminals. But outside of that, you're looking at these 4 Premier League matches, and you got to think that's 12 points up for grabs right there, like legitimately. So, there's no excuse, in my opinion, to not get all 12 points in the next 4 Premier League matches. But look, another topic of conversation in regards to the transfer window: has Frank been back? Have we backed Tommy Boy the Engine, or Tommy the Tank Engine, Tommy the Toolman Taylor, whatever you want to call him? And I'm going to say yes. Yes, we have. Thomas Frank has been backed, unlike any manager that I've seen, really since Pochettino. When you look at the signing of Xavi Simons alone, even if it was just Mohamed Kudus, those 2 players for me were the dream signings that I mentioned a little bit earlier on. But those 2 players for me, even if you take one away, it still hasn't really been as good of a signing to get one of those players really since Rafael van der Vaart. And that is before I even chose Tottenham as my club. Well, in 2008, I believe it was. So, I think that a little grain of salt is needed. And then, oh, shit, I say a grain of salt, but Tottenham Hotspur fans, there's a whole bunch of salt. It's a big ass brick of it. And I just don't understand. It's every window we're not happy. And this is probably the best window that I've ever seen. Point blank period. Like, I've heard people say we've got a center back problem. I don't think that we do. Obviously, Luka Vuskovic getting loaned out wasn't what I wanted to see happen for the young lad, but he came out and said that the club didn't even want that for him. I've got the quote right here that I could show you where he says, oh, that's the wrong window. Hang on one second. No, Staffy deleted my, for this. Really? Really? Hang on. Staffy about to get pissed. But let me adjust this because this does not look right. Let me fix this real quick. Boom. And then I'll put myself right there, make the camera a little bit bigger. How about there? Boom. There we go. Sorry. Updating the layout. But Luka Vucevic himself even said that they offered him an option to stay to play in case of injury or the cup matches, but he wanted continuous minutes. He says, quote, they have Romero and Van de Veen playing. They're two of the best center backs in the world at the moment. I believe in myself, but it's really difficult to play next to them. I've faced them, and I've realized I still have to work harder. A lot of work and a little bit of luck, so I'll be back. So he did have some quotes to say that was Tottenham wanted me to stay. I wanted consistent minutes. I didn't think that I was going to crack this first team. I didn't really think he would either. I would say at best probably that fourth option behind Kevin Danso, because Danso's also come in and shown a lot of qualities, especially with that Thomas Frank patented long throw thing that we're doing, which, you know, Bergvall tried his hardest, but he can't throw it as far as Kevin Danso can, in my humble opinion. But look, I am, again, so thrilled with this window. I am so ecstatic about what can be. Now, again, that is what can be. We do have to see how Xavi Simons obviously is going to translate from the Bundesliga to the Premier League. When you look at some of the best players who came from the Bundesliga, most recently Florian Wirtz, there is that little bit of an acclimation period, in my opinion, when you're making that jump. And I think it's evident when you look at the way Florian Wirtz is able to operate. Oh, shit. The way that Florian Wirtz was able to operate over there for Bayer Leverkusen versus how he's done in his tenure so far with Liverpool. I think that, you know, there's going to need to be a little bit of patience with Xavi Simons, but obviously giving him the number 7 shirt is a vote of confidence. Obviously putting him as the face of this new project is a huge vote of confidence. So for me, I think that he's got the whole world at his feet. Now, what he does with it remains to be seen. However, I do still think that he is the most exciting signing that we've had really since Rafael van der Vaart. And I would even say Kudus as well as probably the most exciting. And that's all for me personally. That's just my opinions. And please do, if you're here live in the live chat, let me know. And I'm probably going to clip this first little segment up and make it its own video. So if you are watching this as a playback video, please do comment down below. What is your rating out of 10? For this window? I've obviously, for the live stream today, we're going to be doing some rankings. If we can get to the Premier League predictions, we'll do that. If not, we're just going to go ahead and rank our squad, and this is including the new signings. So I found a couple tiers that we will mess with. I've got a couple bookmarks we will go through. So make sure if you are on the video, go on over to the live stream if you want to see more of it. But I just wanted to give my brief Tottenham transfer thoughts, basically. And again, Xavi Simons is a player I've wanted for 3 or more years. Mohamed Kudus, 3 or 4 years. And we've got both of them in one window. Kolo Muani, who comes in as our best striker, in my opinion. And then you've also got João Palhinha, which I think is an often overlooked little signing that we made. And I'll be honest, you know, y'all may not believe me, but there was I'm trying to find the bookmark I had, but there was a bookmark where they were basically ranking. Here it is. So The Athletic ranked Tottenham Hotspur's João Palhinha as the best transfer in the Premier League summer window. Number 1, they gave. Well, here I'll change the view again so y'all can see that. They said number 1 was João Palhinha. Number 13 was Xavi Simons. Number 52 is Mohamed Kudus, and I think that is. They're going to be regretting that 52 ranking whenever they see what Kudus does this year, in my humble opinion. They've said the 78th best signing was Kevin Danso, 121st Matthias Tell, and 141st Koto Takai, which, you know, when you start getting on 141 and you're talking about Koto Takai, I got to imagine the names around there are also names similar that I've never really heard of. So, or at least watched play for that matter. But look, João Palhinha, I say it's been overlooked. The Athletic says number 1 out of everybody, and that's every Premier League signing. Now, obviously, I can't click this because it is one of those pay to read type of articles. However, at least I'm not alone in how important I think that this João Palhinha signing is. And there was also something that Thomas Frank said after the match versus Bournemouth, in which we lost 1-0. He said that João Palhinha is not even at 100% fitness yet, and he's still offering us so much. So to me, I think that his best is still yet to come, even though he was immaculate versus City, obviously getting that goal, getting stuck in a whole bunch. But for me, João Palhinha is a fantastic signing, even if it wasn't one of my 2 dream signings. 2 years ago, when he was at Fulham, I definitely did want us to sign João Palhinha. Obviously, when he went to Bayern, I understood it. But now he's back here, and if he can return to that form, I mean, ooh-wee is all I can say about that. But again, these first three names, obviously, Simons, y'all should know by now how I feel about that, and Mohamed Kudus as well. And the last thing I do want to say about them is the notion that, if Thomas Frank is usually getting a player that, say, is at a 3 out of 10 to a 4 or 5 at best out of 10, and he raises them to be desired by the biggest clubs in the country and some across the world, in Ivan Toney and Buemo and Visa, that's a clear indication he can take a 3 or a 4 and turn him into a 6, 7, or 8. And my thought is, if you get a guy like João Palhinha, who's probably about a 7 or an 8, what can he do with that? Can he elevate it further to a 9 or a 10? Can he take a Mohamed Kudus, who I would probably say is about an 8, and make him a 9 or a 10? And then you got Xavi Simons as well, who, I'm going to say at this juncture, I'm going to give him a 7, just because of, the lack of Premier League experiences. But if you can take that 7 and make it a 10, bro, we will be cooking. And that is the main reason why I actually have like so much faith in us going forward, is not just these players that are 4, 5s, and 6s becoming a higher number, but it's these guys that we're bringing in of a higher quality. How much can he improve them? So I'm really excited to see that. Let me know in the comments, whether you're watching this live or on playback, what your thoughts are. But I am very, very happy. I am ecstatic. I'll give you my number rating a little later on. So, but I just don't understand why Spurs fans are not happy. They're referring to Ezzy and Gibbs White and these players that we missed out on, but you're not going to mention Leroy Sané. He also said no to us. There's names that like to get mentioned, I think, because it's just like the thing that they wanted that they didn't get. So now it's like, oh, Levy should have spent more. Oh, don't have depth at the center back. I think that we do. And I'm still curious to see what Dragusin's going to look like under Thomas Frank as well, because everyone said that Dragusin was not played to his strengths in the Ange Postecoglou system, which is, a high press, high line defending, and he's this or that. And for me, I'll be honest, like with Dragusin, I haven't seen anything yet in a Tottenham shirt that says, yeah, this guy is that third or fourth option there. That's why I kind of left it open for Luka Vuskovic. However, if if Frank is the manager that everyone alludes him to be, then I would imagine that that Dragusin will obviously show that improvement as well. So I'm not too concerned about the center back position. Fullbacks, obviously, we've got Pedro Porro, Destiny's just come back, and Jed Spence. So that's 3 different fullbacks, and Jed could obviously play both sides like he did versus Bournemouth, which, again, I'm just going to say this about Jed Spence. Everyone doing that whole mockery bullshit because he said, bring me your best winger, or bring me your favorite winger, something like that, and then we're going to add him to the Jed Spence Penitentiary, which, if you're unfamiliar, is starting to pile up. We're starting to get crowded. We might have to start releasing some of these folks. But as you know, the penitentiary of Jed continues to grow, and you do like to see that. However, people's trying to use Semenyo's 70 minutes versus Pedro Porro as an indication that Jed Spence got cooked. That's just not factual, and that's basically watching a game on SofaScore. Now, I like to reference SofaScore for like statistical information, but to use their player ratings in any kind of argument for me is blasphemous at best, and it is a joke at worst. Or at best. I don't know. Either way, I think you understand what I'm saying, that Jed Spence did not get cooked by Semenyo because Semenyo didn't do shit as soon as Jed Spence went over to the right. But, hey, that's neither here nor there. But let me say hello to the chat before we keep on going. I see we got a super chat from a user, 4872, with the £2 dono, says, left wing was key position. Do you think Colo will cover it? I think we've got so many players that can play there that's why I'm also not concerned about it. Because I think, and I'm not trying to assume your feelings here or thoughts, a user. Admittedly, I don't really know where you stand with the window. So I would say Kolo Muani has played on the right. He's played on the left, but primarily in his best position is in the central forward position. So I would say I'd be more inclined to believe if Frank was to deploy a left winger that we have, that is not, a guy that we wanted to sign, but a player that already plays for Tottenham. I'm looking at, he could put Xavi Simons out there. I'd rather see Xavi at the 10, personally. That's where I think he cooks the best breakfast. But I could see Richarlison playing on the left. I could see Matthias Tell playing on the left. And let's not forget, we also got the French Pele, Wilson Odobert.